Doug and PA back with another video. So this is going to be another one about debt, student loan debt in particular. We have another group of experts talking about how Black women are plagued with student loan debt and how the striking down of Biden's student loan forgiveness plan will hit them the worst. I like doing these kind of videos because we do not talk enough about economically unattractive women. You hear women talking about how guys don't provide, they're not tall, they're not masculine, but we never hear about the fact that women make decisions like getting into too much consumer debt, student loan debt, or get upside down on their mortgages, making them economically unattractive and disqualifying them for serious relationships or marriage. Well, that's what this video is going to be about. Before I get into this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It's just you support me and what I'm doing over here. And guys, put your stories about economically unattractive women in the comments. Have you ever gone out on a date or started dating a girl and you found out she had a whole bunch of student loan debt, or she's upside down on a house, or she had a $1,000 car note? Put it in the comments, okay? And let's get into this video real quick.
Now, last week, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down President Biden's plan to forgive student debt. The court's decision will have wide-ranging impacts on Black women, the demographic most impacted by student debt. Over the weekend, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke to women at the Essence Fest about their concerns over student loans.
Okay, I can't stand Kamala Harris, so we are going to skip to the point where we're not going to hear her awful voice.
Joining us now is consumer researcher Dr. Tanisha Watkins. Doctor, good morning. We were covering this story last week. I was doing some research and I pulled up an article that was showing the data points that the people who have borrowed the most student loans are Black women, and the people who are likely to have the highest individual balance are Black women. Now, we heard Vice President Harris.
Wait, so on top of that, Black women are the most enrolled in college, not the most graduated, but the most enrolled. Black women have the most evictions. They're like, Black women top all these different stats that are not good. Okay. And I'm going to say my opinion as to why Black women take out the most student loan debt. Black women have been lied to by our culture and society, saying that these degrees and stuff that doesn't matter are going to be worth something. And so I know a lot of Black women that paid $150,000 for some social work degree, and then you can't tell them nothing. You can sit a woman down and say, look, if you get that degree for $150,000 for a job only making $45,000 a year, you're going to be in trouble. But they ain't hearing it from nobody, especially a man. That's why so many Black women are in this situation.
Harris say there's a lot of real fear for student loans affecting this group and their future, things like starting a family, buying a home. Why is this demographic so impacted by it, and what are the repercussions for that now that this loan forgiveness is no longer available potentially?
So before she gets to this, I'm going to say the way out of all the problems plaguing Black women in America is to get married, find a good man. And there are plenty of competitive, successful Black men out there. Only 24% of Black women will ever get married. Even if that percentage got to 50 or 60%, Black culture will be better off. But let's listen to what this woman have to say, and she's going to say everything but marrying a man. Everything but what every other group of women does on the planet.
Actually.
Yeah. Good morning. Really great questions. And so I think that Black women are disproportionately affected by student loan debt because we have to take into consideration the socio-cultural factors that impact our decisions to go to college. Women see college and getting advanced degrees as an opportunity to,
Look at that. Black women graduate. So this is undergrad, 37,558. Male graduates, on average, 18,880. Economically unattractive women, guys.
Improve their lives, but also the lives of those around them. And so I have a hypothesis here. And I think one key factor is the ego, right? We know that Black women, our credibility tends to be questioned. And therefore, when we're looking at places to go for college, we're thinking about what are those institutions that are going to enhance my credibility so that I'm deemed employable.
And the worst part about that is that, guys, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree. No one ever asked me where I got it. No one cares. All you have to do is have one. That's it. And so, honestly, going to these private colleges, going out of state, Ivy League, like, it's not worth the cost now. It's just not. And women, they don't care about this kind of stuff. They like these shiny things. Oh, I have a master's degree from Yale in education. So what? Who cares? You're still gonna get only gonna get a job making $60,000 a year.
And sometimes those top universities means going out of state, means going to a private university. And so this is one belief that I have of why women are so disproportionately affected by the student loan debt.
And that's not a good reason at all. Your ego. Black women have to feed their ego. That's not a good reason at all.
I mean, I can understand that. When I was looking at schools for graduate school where I needed a scholarship because otherwise I was going to have to take out loans, and I'm still paying the loans that I have. You know, if you're not in these circles that you aspire to get into, right, you look at where the people in those circles came from. And if it's a prestigious university, you think, okay, that's my ticket. But what I was reading that you don't realize is that women, in particular Black women, then when they get into the workforce, they don't make as much as their white male counterparts. You know, they struggle with other barriers that may not be as obvious. And so it takes them much longer to pay those loans down. Now, you've talked about something that you call debt guilt. What is that, and how does it affect young professionals?
Women just come up with these terms, man. Have you guys ever heard the term debt guilt before? I've never heard it, but let's see what that's about.
Right, right. So there's this interesting dilemma that happens. So we have individuals who go to college, and part of the rationale for taking out these massive amounts of money is that this idea that when I graduate, I'm going to get a job that pays me a lot of money, and I'll be able to afford the payments and pay the money back. However, what we see when we look at the data, that's not exactly happening.
57% of Black women report having financial difficulties, guys. 57%. They always talk about how, oh yeah, all these Black guys have been in jail, and all these Black guys have kids. Yeah, well, all these Black women have financial difficulties. How about that? 57%, guys. 57%. Gosh.
Especially for Black women, given the gender and the racial disparities that we see in this pay gap. And so given that, it creates a sort of dissonance, some guilt from these women who view and value themselves as being highly intelligent. And so I know for me personally, I struggle with this idea of like, oh, I'm so smart, but I feel so dumb that I took out all this money to go to college. And
as you should. You got duped. You've been had. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, led astray, like Malcolm X said. If you're over $100,000 in student loan debt, you are not intelligent. You're just not. So you should feel that way. I'm all about debt guilt. Let's make that a regular thing.
So that is the paradox that we face.
Do you think there will be a reluctance for young people, and specifically Black women, to go to college? Because more Black women...
I can answer that. Heck no. No. Because for Black women to stop wanting to push to go to college, it's gonna take them having to admit that they need a man, and that's never gonna happen. Black women are so focused on staying away from their men and being strong and independent, and the only path, no matter how destructive it is paying a bunch of money to go to college. Because they're not going to do blue collar work. It's either go to college and try it that way or learn a trade. And Black women are not going in the sewers. They're not going on the roofs, and they're not laying concrete.
Women are graduating from college and getting advanced degrees, But, when I was that age, people didn't talk about debt, right? You got into the best school and you went, and you took out $150,000 of loans, and then you paid them for the rest of your life. I feel like the younger generation that I speak to does seem more aware of debt, and they are more fearful of it. Do you think that's going to start impacting the stats of Black women in higher education?
Oh, really great question. I don't think so. I think, again, because Black women do face a lot of social stigma, we do face imposter syndrome, and we know the power of a degree behind our name. I don't think that it is going to interfere with degree attainment. But what I do think the shift that we will see happening is that we're going to see more Black women who tend to stay in state, who may not necessarily go and pursue those out of state, those private universities. And my hope is actually that, we invest and attend more of our HBCUs. And so I think that Black women in particular will continue to reach out and get those degrees and advanced degrees, but we'll see a shift in where they're going and how they're going about getting particularly those master's and PhD degrees.
We need to see a shift in Black women getting married. How about that? That's what we need to see, because school is only going to get more and more expensive. It's because you ladies keep paying for it. That's why. Men, we've had it. The college scam is over for a lot of men. We've woken up. But ladies, they're gonna keep paying this. And I'm telling you guys, I have 2 degrees, but I went to school on the West Coast. I worked 2 jobs to keep my student loans down to a minimum. Women are never going to do that. They're never going to sacrifice their lifestyle to save money on debt for a family. None of it. So you're just going to see more and more women getting into more and more debt.
I hope they keep going too. Maybe some programs will step up and try to fill that gap. Dr. Tanisha Watkins, thank you so much for joining us.
So guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments. I don't feel bad for these women at all, man. I said it on my channel before. I'll say it again. A woman's debt is a perfectly valid reason to disqualify her from being taken seriously for relationships or marriage, guys. My limit is 100,000. If she has more than 100,000, it's over. Yours can be more. Yours can be less. Let me know what you think about this. Like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.